Hello, everybody, and happy Sunday. Welcome back to Learning Bigfoot. We are so happy to be here, and we are with David from Bigfoot and More, an awesome channel. His links are down below. Please check it out because it's incredible. He's got some really, really good videos on there. We are excited to learn. We are so excited. I am so excited to learn because just the conversation we were having right before we aired was just,
It
you
was
guys are going to love
fun.
this.
Now,
You guys are
It
going
now,
to
was
love
now
this.
to
fun.
add to that, you just had a book come out like a year ago. Is that right?
And one about to come out. But this is the
Okay.
one that just came out. Well, I think it went public on Amazon last June or so. It's been out about a year. It's called the Champay. The Champay is a native word, Choctaw, which in where I live in Oklahoma, we're right smack in Chickasaw, Choctaw, territory and all. Um, so I've heard some people say Champay is just another word for Bigfoot. It is not. It
Hmm.
describes a Bigfoot type creature that was from their home area, which would have been down in what is now Mississippi. And it's describing basically a big black cannibalistic monster that would follow you down and eat you. And if you were a hunter and wanted to get away from it, you couldn't because it was too fast. But if you threw your game down, maybe it would be interested in it instead of you. So basically, it sounded like what they were describing was a Bigfoot that was having a very bad day, and if you'd put it that way. But I basically tied it into the Bigfoot legend, and the story takes place in the mountains of southeast Oklahoma in the Ouachita National Forest, and it kind of flashes back to the arrival of the Choctaw tribe here in Oklahoma, and then forward to today. And anyway, it's a fictional story, but uh, it does allude to some old historical, actual Bigfoot sightings and encounters and stuff. And some of the fictional encounters in here are based on actual encounters. So, um, anyway, it's hopefully a fun read to anybody that gets it.
That's
Oh
really
my gosh.
cool. Now we,
That's
we have had authors on our show before, and if somebody wanted to order your book, would they be able to order a copy that was autographed? Is there a way
They
that we
would
can make
have
that?
to do that. Right now, you can get it in ebook or paperback on Amazon. If you type in The Champay by David Wilbanks, it'll pop right up. You can get an ebook of that. Now, I have people come into my music store fairly regularly and buy a copy from me, and I'll sign it for them if they want to. Of course, I tell them if I sign it, it's going to devalue the book. So,
Well, you would be very surprised how many of our audience actually love
mm-hmm.
ordering these books, paperback books. It seems like they prefer that over ebooks, and they do
okay, now
really
if they want
appreciate the sign.
Well, I'll tell you how you can do it because I have a business in my town of Ada, Oklahoma. My music store is called Dave's Music. Now they can send me an email that they would like to purchase one of the books, and I can autograph a copy and mail it to them through the mail, and I can take payment through my store for it that way. And I can give
Okay.
you my email address if you would like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
whatever you
we're
want.
going to be emailing you because we're going to want
We're
one of
gonna,
these
yeah, we're
books.
gonna be getting
So,
one. Too.
Oh, so it's Bigfoot and More at yahoo.com.
Okay.
And if they want an autographed copy, they can just send me an email there saying they want it, and we'll take care of the uh, payment by phone. Basically, I don't have a PayPal or anything, but it would be basically the payment would be through my music store. But that's the way I've done it so far. If they want that, otherwise, uh, if they're not comfortable with that, just Amazon.com. You can get it on that.
okay.
I'm gonna
All
type
right.
that in there.
And yeah, we could add your, if anybody reaches out to us, we can make sure we forward that email address to them too, in case they're not able to write it down
Right?
for us right now.
Bigfoot and more.
Now,
Not Bugfoot. Bigfoot and more.
At Yahoo.
At
yeah, Bugfoot's some other guy.
yeah, that's it.
He'll still
Now,
accept payments, though.
on the book subject, I have a nonfiction book that I've pretty much finished with all the text on, and it's going to be based on my 2+ decades of investigation into this mystery. And right now I'm in the like type editing and adding pictures to it and stuff. So hopefully by Christmas I'll have that ready too. So.
Well, we'll have to have you back on right as soon as that releases.
Absolutely.
So we can put that out there. Looks like you already have somebody who wants to order one of your books. They want us to put it in the description how they can get a hold of you. So there we go.
Yeah,
we already got you a book sale.
Yep.
Okay.
I pinned it to the chat. So.
Now, we did kind of jump right into the conversation. I do want to go back a little bit to the introduction aspect of it. So I want to start off with thank you for everybody who's coming into the chat and interacting with us. I'm just going to go through a couple of the names. There's probably more than I'm catching, but we want to shout out to people like Misty, to Diana King. Paul Knoll, Mike's Adventures. We want to thank everybody who's coming in and hanging out with us. We know that some people will probably come in a little bit late because Hidden Existence is still on right now.
That is true.
But
Patty was in there. Christina's in here.
Yeah, see, she's good at details. I'm good at turning on a camera and charging up a battery. So between the two of us, we know what we're doing. Just make sure that we try to hold as many of the questions as we can closer to the end of the show so we can sit there and ask the questions for you guys at the end of the show. In the meantime, we just want to talk to David. We want to learn more about him and his experiences. And then again, at the end, we'll make sure that we ask as many questions from you guys that we can. Shout out to Mike's Adventure for the super sticker. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate it.
And hi, Gary.
And hi, Gary. So one question I have, David, where are you located again? Are you in, what state are you in?
Oklahoma. I'm in technically the southeast part of Oklahoma, but not deep southeast. I'm kind of right on the border of east central and southeast.
I got you.
Down in that area.
Oh, okay. Now,
I'm only about an hour's drive from the Taimyshi Mountains.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I have a question for Marianne. Are we supposed to be going to Oklahoma anytime soon?
Why, goodness, yes, we are.
When is that supposed to be?
Oh, just in like 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we might be kind of somewhere in the general area as you here in a couple of weeks.
You guys going to the whole other thing?
No, we were invited to come out to a location with Tex from Trinity.
Cryptid Paranormal.
Yeah, I think so. We'll put that out there as well. But there was a location out there where there had been some reportings of some Bigfoot and some other, the Dogman.
Dogman, yeah.
And we were invited to come out and, be there with them and do some work with them. So it's kind of ironic we're going to be in the same state.
Mm-hmm.
Put this on your map. Type in Dave's Music in Ada, Oklahoma, and if you're anywhere near, you got to stop by and say hi.
Absolutely.
We will. We'll even do a live stream for everybody so they can see that we actually did it. Yeah, that's how we roll. So no, that was cool though. Sorry for that shameless little plug there, but most people don't know we're going to Oklahoma in a couple of weeks. So
we just found out ourselves.
Yeah. So we figured, oh, hey. And there's another gentleman we might have the honor of meeting up with right there, Gary Spikes.
That'll be awesome.
Okay, so
we squirreled. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I squirrel a lot. So going into why we have you on the show and your experiences that led everything here. You mentioned a music store. I want to start off with that. How long have you been in the running a music store?
Well, I've had my own for going on 30 years. Before that, I managed another one back through the late 80s and started my own in October of 92. So, been in it a good while.
Awesome.
All right. Out of curiosity, where did what started you with your channel and your books with Bigfoot and More and writing these books? What happened to lead you to the point where you wanted to start pursuing that?
Well, that's kind of a long story. It goes way back. There was a very close friend of our family back when I was a child. That was he was a veterinarian, and my mother actually worked for him back in the mid to late '60s. And he had briefly corresponded with Roger Patterson by mail back in like 65, 66, because he had heard what was going on. He was not a Bigfoot believer, but as a science minded person, he was, I call him a hopeful skeptic. You know, he's passed away recently, the last couple of years, unfortunately, but he has sent Roger a letter basically saying, "Hey, I'm a veterinarian. If you need somebody to come along in case the horses get hurt or something, I'd be glad to." And that never worked out that he was able to go, but Roger sent him a copy of his book that he wrote in, I believe, 1965 called Do Abominable Snowmen in America Really Exist? And when I was a child, I'd go over there in the early 70s, his house, I knew exactly on the bookshelf where that book was, and I was just enthralled with that. And it kind of stuck, and and I love being in the outdoors anyway, and I love mysteries, and you put those two together, and I'm hooked for life. So
Hmm.
past that, in the late '90s, I got the internet was prominent, and I was a contact briefly with the BFRO in Oklahoma, and uh, did some investigation with them at that time, and then started my own website called studyingbigfoot.com in, I believe, '99, and I had that up through like 2003, and got sick of it. It started getting really silly. Back in those days, like right now, everybody talks to each other,
Mm-hmm.
about this subject. It seems like everybody's willing to share this. Back then, it was all competition, and I got kind of tired of it and took it down and just kept doing my own thing with like-minded people, uh, just amongst ourselves. Actually, there's one area there in the Comanches that I've been going to consistently since 2003, after investigating a Bigfoot sighting by a man on horseback that had one of these creatures walk out into the trail about 75 yards in front of him and then run back in. And since then, in that area, I've found footprints. Um, Once back in 2003, me and a good friend of mine named Brian Baker were down there, and it was after midnight, about 2 a.m. Something threw a large rock and bounced it off a tree just outside of our camp. And I say large rock, I'm talking a boulder like 25, 30 pounds. And it,
Wow.
of course, woke us up. We found the rock, seen where it hit the tree. Um, and I've not stopped going back. I go in there probably 6 or 8 times a year, and most of the time it's by myself. If I can hook up with a friend, I'll take them, but usually it's by myself. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been pretty consistent activity in that area since then.
Hmm.
Yeah, now that kind of brings me to the next question. I mean, we did explain to you a little bit before we went on the show, but oh, hey, it looks like Paul Knoll says he just ordered your book. So
Oh, thank
Hey.
you.
we're
Hey,
we're
for anybody that
excited.
doesn't know, okay, you guys married, right? Maybe not each other, but are y'all married?
We're getting there. We're engaged.
Oh, you together? Well, great. Okay, so my wife, I don't even think she has an opinion about the Bigfoot thing, but when I use the proceeds from my book to buy equipment that I need, there's no griping whatsoever. So anybody that buys my book, they are contributing to my efforts. So I very much appreciate it.
Well, that's one thing I love about our family that we have here, and the people who come to our shows, and the people that support us. And we're growing every day. We're still a small channel, but we are growing every day.
Hmm.
There is a lot of support amongst all of us, and you know, we try to share as much love as we can because we know that we're receiving so much love from everybody out there that supports us as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and when we have people like you come on, and when we have other guests come on the show, we want you guys to feel that love as well. We want you to see that the people that support us is going to welcome you in just as much as they welcomed us in.
Oh,
And
great.
you know, like Paul says right there, you know, he loves this type of stuff, and he never misses a show, at least not that I could think of, you know.
Mm-mm.
And he wants to support you as well because I mean, again, he loves this kind of stuff. We want your book because we want
Yes.
to add it to our shelf with other stuff. And
And I want to read it.
I'm going to be honest, she will read it.
I'll
I
read it.
probably won't.
I'll tell him about it.
She'll give me the shorthand version of it. It's just being
You'll
honest.
read it by proxy through her.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, okay, tell me what happened.
I'm
you know.
excited. I'm excited to get it.
I'll play it out as a
Well,
movie
yeah,
in my head.
the descriptions in the book of your, I'll just say your average Bigfoot, those descriptions are based on my own investigation into this subject. So if you read about when you're reading it about the Sasquatch that don't want to kill you, that is actually what my opinion on how these things are.
Well, I don't want to really die, so hey,
that's good to know
that's a
since we're
good place to be.
headed to Florida to look for them.
Yeah, so in November we are going to be going out with the expedition with for Carrie Arnold as part of the film crew. So
Mhm.
we're going to be out there filming the researchers and everybody who's out
Yeah,
doing their thing.
I had the privilege of meeting Carrie and Brad here several months ago when they came to Oklahoma and did the documentary at Mark Copeland's property that's about 60 miles east of me here. And they actually interviewed me on part of that as well. But yeah, Carrie and Brad, they were just great, really nice people.
Yeah,
They are. They're amazing.
From what we've talked with him, we've talked with him quite a bit on air and off air, and yeah, you could tell he's very intelligent, he's very honest,
Yes.
and he doesn't BS it around. You know, if he'll tell you what he thinks and how he thinks about. But I think what stands out to me the most with him is that he really cares about people that have been traumatized by the
Yeah,
experience of coming face to face with them. And I think that that's what speaks volumes for him and why he is so well respected is he doesn't want to have another face to face situation with a Bigfoot. He doesn't want to
Mhm.
go out there and he doesn't want to experience that aspect of it again. But his goal is to create a platform and create an environment where people who have had that experience has somewhere that they can go, somewhere that they can talk about it without feeling like they're being shamed or they're having people turn their backs on them or people just telling them that they're out of their mind. And you know, he's part of the reason what inspired this show that we're doing now, Learning Bigfoot, is because not only did he invite us to go out there to be part of his film crew, but he really triggered our curiosity.
Yeah, I did.
And you know, all we've ever known is what you see in the movies, you know,
Mhm.
Harry and the Hendersons.
Right.
Hey, here's a friendly big hairy guy, you know, but we know that's not
that's
really
who
what
we
it's
couldn't
like.
get. Yeah,
You know,
but yeah, I
and
mean, I
that
like
sorry, go ahead.
Carrie. Carrie made the statement on one of his shows one time that says one thing we'll talk about this about Bigfoot, whether he's this, whether he's that, but we don't discuss whether he's real. And I think that's very important. I'm not an expert on this subject. All I can do is share with you things that in my personal investigations that I've observed and my opinion on it. Y'all's may be totally different, and that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because with the mind, there are no experts.
Which
That's
is why we've got you on the show because we love people who know that you've got tons of experience. I mean, you've been around this, you've learned a lot, and I love the fact that you're up here saying I don't know it all. And there's so many people out there like this is what my experience was, so that's the way it is across the board. Bottom line.
Now,
You know,
I'll, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, to add to what she was saying, add to what you're saying, in the paranormal field, the ghost hunting aspect, I should say, is a lot the same way. Is, you know, we just started a new show where we're talking about equipment and technical aspects of the ghost hunting, you know, avenue. But even we say it ourselves, you know, we are not experts, we are not professionals, we're just highly experienced, and we're sharing our experiences and our viewpoints of what conclusions we came to from our interactions. And that's why we appreciate people like you coming on the show. That's why we appreciate all our guests that have come on in the past and is willing to come on in the future. Is the information you share is another piece to the puzzle. You know, we're looking for similarities in stories. We're looking for similarities on ways that we can be prepared as much as we can be prepared. We're looking for um, as much knowledge as we can to form at least a baseline theory of what we're coming across, so we know at least a little bit more of what to expect. I know we won't know everything, and I get that, but you know, for example, a lot that we've learned since we started doing this show is I believe they're highly intelligent. They are very stealth-like.
Yes.
They are very what's the word I'm looking for? They don't want to be around people. They're very private. They're very not standoffish. I can't think of the right word.
Well, stealthy's probably.
Well, stealthy is they could sneak around
private,
you,
yeah,
you know, and they're very they're tactics.
Yeah.
They can distract you over here where one or two more is around behind you or off to the left and stuff like that. I mean, you're
Well,
dealing with an intelligence.
yeah, highly intelligent. And I want to get into kind of my opinions on that. And you said it, but I use this analogy. My cat, she's an outdoor cat. She is absolutely terrified of snakes, but she's too curious to just leave them alone. You know, and I kind of think that's the way these creatures are toward us. I think they're without doubt intelligent enough to know that we as a species are bad news if they're around us, but they're also curious about us. And I think that 99% of the sighting reports attest to that behavior. Now, you got different camps as to what these are. You have over in the like Jeff Meldrum, John Bindernagel, which John passed away a few years ago, but they're squarely in the, you know, like the primatology camp or whatever, where they're looking for remnants of an extinct ape called Gigantopithecus. Okay, that's that. And then you got on the other side completely that Bigfoot is a spiritual paranormal being that can go in and out of this reality at will. And there, between those two extremes, there's a whole lot of in between. Okay, I'm more on the in between, and I'm in pretty much the physical camp. Now, that being said, if I see evidence that points me in the other direction, I'm not going to ignore it just because it's not my worldview. That would not be honest investigation. But for those that are in the monkey camp, I'll just say it like that. Gigantopithecus was an ape that lived in Asia 300,000 years ago. Some say up to closer to 100,000 years ago. But that ape had so much in common with the orangutan that many of them call that the world's biggest orangutan that ever lived. Okay, look at the hind foot of any of the great apes. They're basically a hand. They got a big toe that's used for gripping and such like that. Okay, you take early humans from 100,000 years ago, you pull their bones up, their foot is still a human foot. So in such a brief period of time, this is my problem with that theory. Of course, I could be wrong. I'll say that about anything I say. But how does an orangutan, basically, which is what Gigantopithecus was, only supersized, that for the biggest part is a quadruped, evolved into such a short period of time that geologically is just a drop in the bucket into a bipedal, 7 to 9 foot tall, hairy hominid, basically, with a humanoid footprint. To me, my scientific part of me just doesn't compute. And I actually met Dr. John Bindernagel back 20 years ago at the first Texas Bigfoot conference, and had a chance to sit down and talk to him, and he actually admitted that was a good point. And that he was a great guy, by the way, very gracious. I feel privileged to have been able to sit down and talk to him. But that is my problem with the gigantopic theory. But you're looking at people like Jeff Meldrum, they are looking at it from their profession, and that is the only thing that makes sense within that profession or that science. So that's not taking anything away from that. That's just my own personal problem with that. I personally think that they are much closer related to us.
That's interesting. That gives me a lot to think about, because you do hear about people saying how big and hairy they are, and then you hear others saying, well, the one that I saw was hairy, but it looked more human than ape. So it does raise a lot of questions on ancestry, lineage, or whatever. Where did this come from? How did this evolve or develop? And why are they so different in appearances in some cases?
Well, let's take it a little bit further. Different species cannot interbreed. As far as I know, you can't cross a cat and a dog. You can't cross a monkey with a human. Yet in ancient Native American, well, not even ancient, all the way up to a little over 100 years ago, there are stories in the Pacific Northwest of Sasquatch actually abducting a Native American woman and producing a child with that. Now, if those stories are true, that would put the Sasquatch squarely in the human camp as some kind of a human. Because if it was thought to be extinct giant orangutan from Asia that happened to walk across the land bridge, that could not make babies with a human.
Right.
Not to mention, that's just weird.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree there.
There's a lot of weird things on this planet, but we won't go into that conversation. But one question I have for you, David, is I'm curious, do you think there are similar animals / creatures that have not been identified that can easily be mistaken for one thing or another? Because if you compare like canines to wolves, if you don't know the difference between canines and felines, and you don't know the differences between that, somebody could look at those two animals and say they're very much alike, even though genetically they're not. Do you think the same thing can be happening with like Bigfoot and creatures along that scope, where people could be thinking they're looking at a Bigfoot, but it's actually a completely different creature that just looks similar to a Bigfoot?
Well, I can only answer, I'm not going to speculate outside of my own experiences. Now, when I think somebody is making a mischaracterization, say they're out in the woods, they're a little spooked, they're not used to being out in the woods, they may be thinking Bigfoot, catch a glimpse of something that may be a black bear or something like that, and may make a mistaken identity. Now, that can certainly happen. But as far as what you're talking about, I'm not sure what other, do you have something in mind specifically you're talking about?
No, just something else that we haven't discovered yet. I mean, like, we haven't discovered Bigfoot. Is there another thing out there that we haven't discovered yet but could easily be mistaken? Maybe it's more aggressive than a Bigfoot. Maybe it's more one prone to throw branches or trees at you versus a Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, to me, why does it have to be something different? And again, as you and I were talking about before we started the investigative process, first you got to listen to the story and decide in your own mind, to the best of your abilities, is this person telling you the truth? And then is it mistaken identity? And if there is some type of aggression, you may ask, well, was there anything that this person did that may elicit that response? In my experiences, what I believe to be a Sasquatch that was outside our camp was being more curious than aggressive. Even when the boulder was thrown against the tree, it could have just as easily squashed us with that. Okay. to me, the impression I got is when it hit that tree outside of camp, it was letting us know it was there, and it would rather us not be.
So it's kind of like a
but we
warning
didn't
shot.
maybe that, or just, I mean, I don't know what was going on in his mind, but in I've heard different accounts of him being aggressive. One person called me a long time ago, and I finally had to just not be rude, but be stern and say, look, you either did or you didn't. Show me where it's at or don't call me anymore. There was a person in Southeast Oklahoma saying he had killed one of these and it's had it buried somewhere and he could show me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But then that just faded off. That was obviously a hoax. But if I look historically, say the account there at Ape Canyon, Mount St. Helens, you know, where the cabin was bombarded by the rocks all through the night by that group. You're familiar with the story? Okay. Yeah. But what happened before that? They were being observed. They seen these things looking at them, but then they shot one that fell over the edge of the cliff. Now, if you'd have shot one of my family members, I wouldn't want to throw rocks at your cabin and worse. So that was elicited by that. So you got to look, to me, looking at it in an investigative way, if there was some type of aggression, was it just for no reason, or did you do something like shoot at it or show some sign of aggression yourself? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Right. And probably inadvertently too, because the video that I watched on your channel, I think was not even that long ago, earlier this spring, I think. And someone had mentioned in the comments, and I missed it as well, but someone had mentioned in the comments that as you were down this trail, something got hucked at you. And I went back and I was like, really? Yes. And you could see something was thrown. So it kind of makes you wonder if walking in a certain area, just as we do, we don't realize that we're, you know, encroaching on their territory or their space or whatever.
Was I in a rocky creek bed?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you want to know what that really was?
What was that?
I went back and looked over it because I saw that and I'm like, what are they talking about? And I go back. There were hordes of mosquitoes and flies down there. That was an insect flying across the lens.
Really? Because it looked like it hit behind that tree.
Unless it's a part that I didn't see. I'll have to go back and look now because what I kept
left a
going back
comment on it too, so
okay.
Mystery
I'll go back and look again. But I can honestly say if there was something thrown and it hit a tree, I didn't hear it or see it.
Yeah.
That's the same video that I walk up on the vultures, isn't it?
I'm trying to remember now. I watched a few.
It may be
mixed up.
If it's a different one, if it's a different one than what I'm thinking, I'll have to go back and look again. But now the area that I'm talking about, there have been Bigfoot sightings in that area. So I mean, but if it's the one where the vultures are at the end, I think that was an insect flying like mega close to the lens. But I could be wrong.
I'm gonna have to go look again now too because, sorry.
Curiosity.
Yeah, you got me
wondering. Curiosity. It looked like it was across the road from where you were at.
There was a road there?
Wasn't it a road?
Well, that's a different video. Different video. The one I'm thinking
now
about.
I gotta remember where. Now I gotta remember which
I was
one
way away from the road. I was in some creek bottoms here in Hughes County, not far from the South Canadian River, and walking down a rocky, dried up creek bed in some really thick woods. So yeah, I mean, it could happen.
Well,
it was interesting either way.
I think she's going to go back and super analyze it again and then send you the timestamp.
You got me going to want to go back and look at it now.
That's what happens when you actually have people who pay attention, watch your videos. They catch things that you may not even catch. You know?
Absolutely. I encourage anybody that watches my video, if you notice anything that I don't comment or I miss, just put it in the comments. Say, hey, look at this part and look there, and that way I can go back and look at it. You know, so
yeah.
That's cool.
Now, you know, kind of going back a little bit to me asking that question earlier about two similar looking
Mm.
creatures that are mistaken. I think it was Paul Knoll mentioned one about the dog man. Now, we had a
Okay.
guest on our show. I think it was Gary Spike Jr., wasn't it? Was it him or Tex?
Talking about Dogman?
Yeah,
It was Tex.
Tex.
Yes.
Okay. He was telling me of an experience, or telling us, sorry, it's like I was the only one on the show. He was telling us an experience of when he was younger where he had actually witnessed
Hmm.
a dog man. And he was able to describe it, and it was moving by real fast. But in his description, I could easily see how if it was fast enough and you were trying to process what the heck you just saw, um, it could be very easy to be able to mistake one thing for another. Like you said, a bear. You know, it could have been a bear, but somebody would mistake it, or things along those lines. Um, for me, knowing how or learning how intelligent they are and how stealth-like they are. I've heard a lot of people say that you don't find a Bigfoot finds you. Well, what do you think about that
No,
statement?
I agree. Matter of fact, most my excursion off into the wilderness, generally, I we pretty much go about our business. Yeah, we'll hike around after dark and stuff, but mostly we just camp and go about our business for the biggest part, except for maybe some of the parts that we do record, you know. But yeah, most of your sightings of Sasquatch are accidental. People going about their business, campings, catch a glimpse of something watching them from the
Hmm.
woods, or driving a remote road and one of these creatures running across in front of them. It's not normally um, the accounts that I've got have not been people going out and doing tree knocks and whooping and then having it come back and seeing one. I'm not saying that can't work, you know, and
Right.
I've done it. I don't do it very much, but it is interesting to do a tree knock once in a while, see if anything does answer. Now the times that I have heard tree knocks and such. Matter of fact, last March when Cornell from the No Such Thing podcast, I'm giving a plug to his YouTube channel as well. He came down and he and my son went camping down in the Kiamichis, and we heard knocks coming from up the ridge on to the south of us and across the creek, and then down the creek, not wood knocking, something was clacking rocks together. And that was from three different directions. And okay, and that comes up, and I've heard different people ponder, what is the wood knocks for? Are they signaling each other? Probably. I mean, it's surely not for us, but maybe that's how they let each other know, hey, there's people down here, so be careful. I don't know. And then we did catch some vocalizations. Cornell actually set a recording device out in the woods, and and we didn't hear it. It must have been after we were asleep or something. I'm not sure when it was. He would have to get on his the timing on the recording, see when it actually happened. But he set this recording device in the woods and just left it on and picked up a very loud whoop on it. And it's kind of high pitched. And somebody was giving him a hard time saying, oh, it sounds like a woman. Hats off to her if that was a woman, because we were way the heck back in there. And we would have had to walk through these mountains and boulder fields um, undetected by us, I guess,
Mm.
just to come find us and let out a whoop. So
Yeah.
Anybody
if
will do
if,
anything
if
for
that
attention.
if that is what if that is what it was, then I gotta give her a commendation for her dedication for hiking that deep in there just to let out that whoop.
Yeah.
So
Well, you did make me think about something though, and I haven't watched or heard enough videos about tree knocking. So keep in mind with that part, I'm very ignorant. I don't know enough about it. But to me, two things come to mind with wood knocking. The first one would be some kind of Morse code. Maybe they're knocking, and a certain pattern of knocking
Hmm.
may be relaying specific information of what they're trying to communicate. Maybe. Second thing I'm wondering is if wood knocking, if the sound travels farther than the sounds that they can make themselves. So if you're knocking on a piece of wood, can that sound travel further through the woods versus saying
Hmm.
whoop whoop? You know, just a thought. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it came to my mind.
I hadn't thought of
Now
that.
I've heard what I thought was pretty distant whoops, so those tend to carry pretty good. But the most common thing that I've heard is a whistling, kind of a strange whistling out there. Not like, and I'm pretty familiar with your local wildlife, and it doesn't sound like any bird that I've heard. And I've experienced a couple of times back in 2003 at the incident where the rock was thrown against the tree. Earlier that day, me and my friend Brian, I love to get him on one of these podcasts, but he's kind of hard to get a hold of sometime. But we had been hiking this creek fishing, and something was in the brush just out of sight pacing us, and it would let out this kind of whistle. And the whistle, it's hard to tell, but it seems like more of the timbre of the whistle, if I was guessing, would be more from deeper in the chest than the lips. It's hard to explain, but it's
Hmm.
not like you and I just whistling at each other. I've heard it described as kind of a whistling call. That is something I would love to get on recording. And other people have described it. One person a long time ago down in the Comishes was talking about this whistling would start up around his house, and he had several dogs, and he said these dogs, he'd watched them chase a bear off his property before, but he said when this whistling would start from the woods, they would hide under the porch. So, in his
Hmm.
words to me, he said, I'd like to know what it was. He said, it may just be a bird, but he said, I've lived here all my life and never heard that. And the dogs shouldn't be scared of it if it's just a bird. So,
Right. Interesting.
And see, that's
now,
something we're learning about too with
Yeah.
dogs
but I
because we
can tell
just.
you, go
Sorry, go
ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No,
No, I was going to say
please
the
finish.
thing that I've heard, even on some supposed Bigfoot vocalization recordings, is a red fox can sure make a screaming noise if you've ever heard one of those. You could Google that. They make a loud screaming noise. Matter of fact, one time we were down there, me and my friend Brian, and we heard this screaming in the distance. We're like, what is that? It's too far to really tell. And as it got closer, we were able to identify it as a fox. So,
Okay, because I know that what are those that we have around us that now make a lot of weird noises. I said something stupid last time like hyenas, and you said no, they're
Oh, it's
coyotes.
coyotes. Yeah.
We have
Like,
coyotes.
yeah.
And
oh,
for somebody who's never
hey,
heard a coyote, and all of a sudden you start hearing them making noises off
Yeah.
in the distance, you get a little creeped out because you're like, what the heck is making that noise? What I was going to
yeah,
say though is that we just got a puppy, and we got this puppy because we're going to raise it and train it to be more of our what's the term I'm looking for?
He's a work dog.
Kind of like a work dog for what we're doing, not only with the paranormal, but going in the mountains and things like that. So
Hmm.
we're wanting to train him in a lot of different avenues specific to what we're doing. And one of the things that is going to be very difficult is taking him out into the woods and then also ensuring that he's going to be safe, because we were talking about bringing him with us to Oklahoma,
Hmm.
and we were strongly suggested very quickly that that would not
Not
be a
be a
good
good
idea.
idea.
Now, I think that suggestion was because the area that we were supposed to be going to is only a couple miles away from where Tiger King used to have
Little,
his
yeah.
area, and I guess a couple of cats had escaped from that enclosure,
you
that
That they
area.
have not found yet.
Yeah,
you guys come down here for that. You will be incredibly close to where I work.
that's where it's at.
There
That's
You'll
where
you
be
we're
you'll
go.
going.
be you're only going to be about 30 miles from me. Not
So
even that, probably.
Sounds like we're going to be
have a
giving
book
you a
ready.
visit. Have a book ready.
We'll pay in cash.
Yeah. When,
Check
when
out
are
your
y'all
music
coming
store.
down? When are you guys coming
Uh,
down?
I
Uh,
don't know even what day it is.
I
Hang
think it
on.
was
It'll
early in
couple.
October, but
Yeah, I think it was the first week of October.
yeah, I mean,
I'll have to
so
get with you to
we were
make sure.
strongly advised that bringing a puppy out to an environment like that was not the brightest idea in the
Right.
world. So we
Give you a snack.
That was a weird deal down there. So I mean, I wouldn't go in the woods around there unarmed just in case there's a big cat still lurking around down there. There's
Right.
no telling.
well, nobody's
Now,
ever claimed us to be the brightest people in the world, so we've gone in some pretty questionable places.
Yes.
So,
Yes, we
well,
have.
as far as going out in the woods a lot, especially, I camp alone a lot down there. Yeah, I carry a sidearm, basically a duty weapon, but
Mhm.
it's not really for worry about Bigfoot. I've never experienced anything to make me be overly concerned with that. But some of these areas you go to, I mean, there may be a criminal element that
Mhm.
drives in. I mean, you just never know. You got to be prepared there. Plus,
So
the
true.
wildlife that's more mundane. Sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of wild pigs. There's black bear down there. Every time I've only seen a black bear twice, and both times it was running the other direction as fast as it could go. Now the wild pigs, you surprise one of them, they can be pretty dangerous. So
yeah, that's what we hear. I haven't ever encountered a wild pig, but I've seen the
Not
wild
myself.
boar, but I've never got close to one.
Yeah, but I've heard they're scary mean and they can do some
they,
damage.
you I've spooked them up a few times down there, and they always run off.
Hmm.
If you don't cover one, a wild hog, they're generally going to run. Where they're dangerous is if you surprise a mother with a bunch of piglets, and they are very protective of those piglets. That's where
Then
you
it's
run into potential danger, and they can rip you apart.
yeah.
Yeah, I picture a moose getting between a moose
Oh
and a
my
calf.
gosh.
Bad news.
Yeah.
We don't have those.
We
Oh,
have those.
Oh,
we've had we've had some
now where are
scary
you guys
Yeah,
at?
encounters with moose here.
we're in. I
We're
guess
in
it's
Utah.
considered northern Utah, in Utah
Oh
County.
wow, you guys are way up there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we have plenty of snow where we're at, but southern Utah doesn't have nearly as much snow. So
Lucky.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
the largest native we got down here is the white-tailed deer. We have bison out in the western part of the state, which me and my wife just yesterday went to the Wichita Mountains to Medicine Park area and the Mount Scott, and they've got free roaming bison out there. I
mm,
would sure hate to get on the mean end of one of them.
yeah, yeah, we got all kinds of little things we got to worry about. I am really curious. I am going to squirrel for a brief moment. We're getting close to the end of the show, so I want to open up the floor for a lot of our viewers and everything else. But I saw this comment from Flat Rock Booger, which is funny because we hear Wood Booger all the time.
Yeah.
Flat Rock Booger. I really like the way David helped with the live wire mark at his home, which I found looking for help with the same situation, just with no kids. Can you explain what that's about? What is referring to?
Yeah, and like I said, Carrie Arnold and them, they did a wonderful documentary about Mark's Place, and you can watch that on Bigfoot Odyssey. It's a great deal. But no, back last well 2020, March of 2020, I got an email from a guy just called his channel Livewire, which he did a lot of electronic wiring and stuff. So that's why I called it that. That he
Hmm.
was having the Sasquatch, his kids were saying things that were like, "What is that?" And then he had a lot of surveillance cameras, game cameras, basically around the house, and he got some images of these dark figures like standing in the trees and stuff. But you can go on the Livewire channel; he's still got some of that up there too. And his name is Mark Copeland, and he lives about an hour drive from me. So I drove down there, and that first time there, got acquainted with him and went walking out in the woods looking for evidence. And that trip there, I found footprints of two different individuals out there. One of them pretty large. Which hold on, just one sec.
No problem. Looked like Gary Spike said that would be 3 hours from Anon, I think is what
Oh,
it
okay.
said.
Did I skip it?
Okay.
I think it was up a
Now
little.
this, as you see it, let me hold it up
Oh,
here.
yeah.
I cast that out in the woods
Oh, wow.
behind Mark's place there. Now, keep in mind, this is in leaf litter. So all I'm really getting is the impressions, but there were several of them about this size. And this was the one that I could get some leaves out of and make a good enough cast of to give you an idea. You know, you can see where the toes are up here and such. Now, there was a highline cut where it was muddy, and there was some footprints of a smaller one that was, I think this track here is about 15 inches long, and these others were, oh, 11 inches long or so. So there's a couple of different individuals that was walking through his place there. And he basically, Mark just want to know, should he be worried for his children's safety and stuff. Eventually it got to the point where they moved back to Arkansas and sold the property there. So I don't know if anything is still going on there or not. I haven't heard anything from the new owners, but his little boy would be walking from the road, and he would tell his dad about a big black figure out in the woods that would pace him out in the woods as he's walking to the house. So yeah, that was that. Like I said, really, I recommend to get into the details of it. Watch the video about it on Kerry Arnold's Bigfoot Audio. He did a very good job on it.
Bigfoot
And
Odyssey. Yeah, that'll be definitely
he's
good.
got interviews with Mark on it. There's an interview with me on it, and others as well. But it's all right there on that property.
Very good.
And then, well, there we go. Misty wanted to ask you if you'd ever seen any Bigfoot creatures.
Last summer, not the summer we're in now, but last summer, I had driven into a different area there in the Commission, which I'm keeping this area. I'm not going to elaborate where because of what happened, but I just got there a little bit before dark. There's still a little bit of sunlight coming through the trees, and I was alone, and I was getting stuff out of my pickup to get camp ready. I was kind of rushing because it was getting right close to dark, and I caught out of the corner of my eye a figure across the creek, probably 25, 30 yards away. And when I focused back on it, it was a smallish, kind of grayish, black-haired bipedal creature standing right at the edge of the brush, looking at me. And as soon as I focused on it, it went back into the woods. And it wasn't big, though. It was maybe 4 or 5 feet tall. I could tell. I couldn't make out facial features at that distance, but I could tell the face was black. The face was a lot darker than the hair on it. But that's the only time I've laid eyes right on one that I can say I'm right at 100% that that's all it could have been.
That's crazy. And being a father of 3, what I think juveniles too. I mean, I wonder if more juveniles are actually spotted than any of the more adult versions of them.
Makes you wonder.
As soon as it disappeared back into the woods, and here's the thing, it did not make so much as a twig snap when it went back into the woods. Now, when I went up there the next day, it was hard to move around up there, and I was certainly making a lot of noise moving around. But after it disappeared, I heard some, like, I call it kind of an angry, guttural like chattering coming from 2 different locations on each side of it. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe that was his parents griping at it for being careless. I mean, who knows? That was just my impression. Like Junior was thinking, he got seen.
I could hear that. Whoa, what was you thinking? Get your butt over here now.
It does make you wonder how they're so quiet, though.
I don't know. I mean, it's almost ghost-like. I mean, I can understand how somebody would think of them in spiritual realm or something. I don't. I'm in a flesh and blood category on them at this point. But they're extremely stealthy.
They are so stealthy. And Flat Rock was saying that the whistling just now started to pick up where he's at. Heard one the other night. My honest opinion, seeing if any loose dogs are close by.
So where's Flat Rock located at? Just so we know. I'm kind of curious to know where Flat Rock is.
Yeah.
Paul Knoll was mentioning that he would actually like to see or to hear more of the whistling noise. Now, Paul also did have a comment as well about how a lot of the animals, they stay away from you. So if you just make a lot of noise, they tend to scatter away from you, except when you get in between the mom and the young. So, I mean, I'm good at making noise because there's nothing stealthy about me at all. So all I have to do is walk and you can hear me from 2 blocks
But I mean,
away.
I think if you're camping or something in an area where these creatures are, you've probably got a better chance of some kind of interaction if you appear to be just going about your business more than if you're standing right at the edge just with your flashlights going like this all the time. You know, and that's the temptation. You know, if you're out there, you want to see something. But Alabama. Wow.
So something to make you think. Well, I think about, this is one of the questions that came to my mind a lot too, is, because from when I remember talking with Carrie Arnold and a couple other people, but they're talking about how sometimes it's a jogger just jogging on their regular trail that came across one, or, somebody who's just out for a simple day hike that came across one, I could picture if you're going out camping, our dog, and I know I'm going back to our dog, but dogs' sense of smell is so much more heightened than our own. And so if you're going out camping, I could only imagine their sense of smell would be highly more advanced than ours as well. And so if you're starting a campfire, if you got cologne on, if you're wearing perfume, just what your sleeping bag smells like, the amount of different smells and odors that you're pulling out to set up camp, even starting a thing of coffee in the morning. I mean, all those different things could be subtle little triggers for them as well. And maybe that's why they're making the noises around you to say, hey, I'm here. So watch your step, and so it really makes me wonder if they know more about us than we actually know about ourselves sometimes, just by what they're picking up on the smells that we have.
I think they probably know about us than we know about them.
Yeah, a lot of what we know now is theory, but TIPA, David knows that the area you are going to. Well,
cool. Now I haven't gone out in the woods and stuff down there, but I know right where it's at. I mean, it's not very far from me at all. But, yeah, I would be more concerned about the possible tiger that got loose and is still roaming around hungry out there than I would a Sasquatch.
Yes.
I'll just walk around saying lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! I'm just kidding. I won't do that. I promise.
Are you two both going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to outrun the tiger. You just got to outrun her.
Yeah.
I'm faster.
No. I outran her daughter. So, but
that's not me. She's not going.
Just takes a stick to the leg.
You wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. Patty has a question for you.
Yes, Patty has a question. Says Dad believes we have a Bigfoot here in Massachusetts. I don't believe there is one here. I believe they're more out west and south. Any thoughts?
You could not possibly have just one there. There would have to be a population capable of reproducing. So my friend Cornell, who has the YouTube channel, the No Such Thing podcast, he lives in Massachusetts. He does videos of hiking out in the woods. Massachusetts, as the person asking the question knows, has a whole lot of woodland. We think down here in the South, we think Massachusetts, Boston, the crowds and all, but there's a lot of woodland up there, a lot of mountains and such. As far as an opinion on Sasquatch activity in Massachusetts, I don't have one because I've never been there. Cornell is in contact with people up there that do research there, so they could give you a much better answer on that than I could.
Yeah, I didn't think much of them here where we're at,
I
where
hadn't
we are
either.
at, because we got the Wasatch Front. So I mean, we got
We
enormous
have mountains
mountains
all
with
over.
trees and forestry all over the place. And I
Mm-hmm.
never thought about it, but that would be an ideal for something like
Mm-hmm.
that to survive because they're always on a higher elevation. They could
Mm.
see things coming from miles away. And if they
Tons of
really
places to
wanted to
hide.
give you a warning, all they'd have to do is just roll a rock off the side and
Yeah.
there you go,
Yeah, exactly.
And then we started finding out that there's actually some
Mm-hmm.
spottings in some areas of where we live, and we're like,
Yeah.
we've lived here our whole life, and
Yeah.
we never
We
even
never
knew
even
that.
heard. There was a gentleman once on the chat that was like, "Yeah, I'm up here in Utah. I'm going to head up to the mountains." And I'm like, well, this is new to me. I hadn't heard of it here, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
they
y'all
could.
got a lot of.
I was going to say,
I
so
mean,
they
y'all
could
got
actually be anywhere. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
well
Sorry,
anywhere that's
go ahead.
there's a food source, water source, and being able to be concealed from us, I think would
Mm-hmm.
be desirable to them because they obviously don't want anything to do with us when they can help it. But I think it's just our population is growing. People are encroaching more into the wilderness areas there for whatever reason, recreation or what. So it's natural that there's more people having these brief, sightings and encounters with them. I think that's just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I agree. And just between you and me, don't tell anybody else, but I think I've had it with humans too. I think I'd rather go live in the trees myself. I'm really done with it.
I tease my good friend Brian Baker that I mentioned earlier. He's kind of a hermit, and that's not a put down. He would say, "Yeah, that's me." He lives out in a cabin in the woods, and I told him, I said, and our mutual friends laughed because I said, people would probably believe you saw a Sasquatch before they believe they saw you. you know, but
Well, you don't have to shave. You don't have to get a haircut. You're just out there doing your thing. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about what anybody thinks. All you have
well,
to
and I'm
do
the
is
same.
write about your meal.
If I didn't have to go to town to make a living, I probably would never go into town. I don't like crowds generally. I like the solitude of being out. I mean, where I'm at, I'm 30 miles from where my work is, and it's uh, dirt roads for probably 10 miles before I get to pavement. So I like it that
Mm.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, I just need to buy some property out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Paul Knoll, I can't wait to go to Owensboro, Kentucky soon to do a Bigfoot hunt. They have been recording stuff there. Ooh, record it,
Speaking of
film it.
Definitely.
speaking of that, I watched an interesting show the other night. I think it was on the Travel Channel or so, talking about feral humans out in the Appalachians. You was talking earlier about it. Could there actually be something else that people are mistaking for Bigfoot? There's actually apparently some documented cases of people going feral out there and just living like animals in some areas. I think that area was in Tennessee though, but it could be something
Kind of
like
sounds.
that. You mentioned the dog man thing. Is that something you guys investigate?
We haven't yet, but I think that is going to be added to the things that we're curious about, that we want to learn more
Because
about.
I do get asked a lot about that, and I really haven't put really much thought into it. That goes to me back to the different species not being able to interbreed. Uh, the only opinion I have on Dogman is I would think that would, my completely useless opinion on it would be that would bleed more into the paranormal aspect. So that would, to me, be more up the alley of what you guys do maybe. But I don't know. I mean, people, yeah, I've had some reports of people claiming to see a dog man and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know
Hmm.
what to me, to me, it would not be a natural creature. It would have to fall into the paranormal somewhere there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened to us as well. I mean, we're open minded, so we're okay with hearing different ideas, different experiences and different beliefs without judging people or shunning people or making them feel like they're, they're off their rocker. But
Well,
we had an
I,
experience not too long ago where we were at a cemetery and there was snow on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and we were seeing footprints. The only footprints that there were no other footprints anywhere near it, but we saw footprints of what looked like a small kid's shoe, and it was walking, and then mid step it turned into like a dog footprint, and there was no signs of any other adults walking by it. There was no signs of the kid taking off in another direction. It was just footprints of a child turning into an animal, and there was no possible explanation of how that
Yeah,
could have happened to me.
that tripped me out.
And so it made me start thinking about shapeshifters, and I really didn't put a lot of thought into shapeshifters before, but after seeing that, it kind of made me
okay,
wonder.
I want to get you guys' opinion on something here. If you go to my YouTube channel to the community tab,
Mm-hmm.
scroll down quite a ways down on the community tab, and somebody has sent me pictures of some footprints in the snow from the far southeastern part of the state during that really snowy weather we had last year down here.
Hmm.
I don't know what those are, but they're not a Sasquatch footprint. They don't look like a bear track or anything else. But if you would go on there and look at that, just send me an email or something and let me know if you've seen anything like that, because I'm at a loss on what that is.
Okay, we're gonna go check that out.
She is amazing at that stuff. She finds animal crime scenes everywhere.
I
So,
do.
so, but no, we'll definitely check that out, and we'll definitely let you know. But so that going back to your question about if we've researched Dogman, we haven't, but it's on our list. We never really researched shapeshifters,
Mm-mm.
but Utah is infamous for the term skinwalker because we have the Skinwalker Ranch out here, and
Yep.
so I mean that's part of what they believe to be shapeshifters,
Right.
and so um, there's a lot of things that we come across that we can theorize and we can speculate, which the same thing can be said in the Bigfoot field. We can
Mm-hmm.
theorize, we can speculate, we can share our opinion on it, but we're not stating anything
Right.
as fact. But sometimes it's just that one piece of the puzzle that's missing that helps the entire puzzle to be complete, and sometimes that's
And
all it takes.
I've had some Bigfoot related reports and here's what I've ran into sometimes. If somebody has a report that they think is Sasquatch related, but there's also some things that are really weird and they've been hesitant to tell me. And I'm like, look, if you saw it, if you experienced it, tell me, because if it doesn't fit your worldview, whatever, if it happened, it happened. And one is a young man was hearing these what he perceived to be Bigfoot vocalizations around his vehicle, and the electrical part of his vehicle started malfunctioning when all this was going on, like his headlights fading out and just dying. And then when it stopped, everything went back to normal. Now, I've
Hmm.
had a
Mhm.
couple of those. Now, watch the relation. Mark Copeland, that we were talking about earlier, had some weird anomalies go on with his surveillance equipment around his house when these things were going on, too. So,
Mhm.
is it related to the Bigfoot, or is it just a really neat coincidence? Or, I mean, who knows? But again,
Well,
we can't, if that was related and happened at the same time, we can't say, okay, we're going to listen to this part, but this other part, it doesn't fit what we're looking at. So,
Right.
no. I
it
mean,
doesn't
that's
fit
not
my
honest
model.
investigation if
Right.
we do
Right.
not listen to all of it. Now, we can look at it later and say, okay, we've determined these things are unrelated. But just to throw it out in the first place, to me, like I said, that would not be honest investigation if we did.
Right. And I mean, we had an experience with our surveillance cameras years ago. We used to run 8 surveillance cameras, and we had a situation where we believed something was moving through the location, and every time it passed one of the cameras would glitch out. Then it would go down the hallway to the next camera, and then
Mm-hmm.
that camera would glitch out. You could follow the glitching, and you could follow the path that whatever it was traveling. Then we show it to other people, and they're like, "Oh no, it's just a digital breakdown of the pixelation something or
Something.
other." And
Something.
it's like,
Yeah.
are
It's like.
you kidding? Because I've ran this system for years and I never had this problem before, and now suddenly you could justify it with some digital breakdown, yada yada yada. I don't think so.
Right.
I know my equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but you're
Well,
absolutely
that's
right.
that's the plus. I mean, when you're looking at your own stuff, it's nobody else trying to hoax
Mhm.
you or something. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing, you know.
Yeah, I gotta see if I could find that old footage now. It
Yeah.
got me really curious.
Yeah.
Wow, we have actually blown past our 1 hour mark, David. I
It's been
appreciate
so
you.
fun though.
Yeah, I appreciate you sitting here talking with us. And it sounds like we may actually be swinging by your
Yeah.
music place here in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
Surprise.
if you come that close and don't stop in and say hi, I'm going to be highly offended.
Well, we don't want to offend nobody, so we're here just to share the love. So we're going to
Yeah.
come grab a
Well, hey,
book.
thanks for
Yes.
having me on. This has been fun.
Thank
Absolutely,
you.
and we'd love to have you back. And
Absolutely.
I would actually like to see if we could put some kind of a thing together to have you on with Carrie Arnold to talk a little bit more about that
Mhm.
live wire
Oh yeah, yeah.
experience, because I
Yeah,
think
that'd be
that would be
great.
an interesting one. So maybe we
That
could
would
see
be.
Yeah,
what we
I'll
could
tell
do
you
about
what,
putting
man,
that.
Carrie, I said this to Carrie, and I mean it. I mean, the way he did that documentary out there, I said, man, you guys are putting the Discovery Channel to shame because he didn't add nothing to it. He let Mark have his say, and I mean, it was really neat, you know,
Yeah.
being around there. And the thing that you don't understand, Kerry is a big guy, and I don't mean overweight big. I mean he's a
No.
tall guy. He looks like he could hold his own against the Cyclops, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see if we could get him on board as well, and then we'll reach out with you, and maybe we could put that together, and we can visit that
Mhm.
and see who all we could bring on to that show, because I think
yeah,
that would
yeah, be
make a
happy.
really interesting one. So,
And don't forget his book, y'all. It's on Amazon, or email him at the link I pinned at the top. His channel is in the description below. Please go over there, show him some love. He's got some amazing videos. I think you're gonna really, really dig it. Really, really dig it.
binge watch his channel.
Yes. You're gonna like it.
Help him out, because I started watching that one video where you were holding your book and you were talking about it, and I was like, I was just gonna pop in for a minute and just kind of watch it before I got back on editing, and I just found myself sitting there staring at it, going, "Wow." Oh yeah, I gotta get back on editing. That was about the third video in, so I figured. But absolutely, thank you to everybody in the chat who's been
Thank
hanging out
you.
with us, who's been interacting. Dantex 1973 Team Rewatch. Yes, go back and rewatch it. We're looking for some feedback from everybody on these type of shows as well. So if you know somebody, or if you yourself would like to be on the show, send us an email at.
TIPATVofficial@gmail.com.
Doesn't that sound professional?
I also want to add this, if I can. If anybody has any sightings or encounters that they would like to send me, I keep a database of these things, and they can send it to that email I gave you earlier at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. And that, like I say, that's just another piece in the puzzle. You'd be surprised where one sighting is. You're not the only one generally that's seen something around those areas. So
That's very
I'd
true.
love to
Yes.
hear from you if you want to.
It looks like Misty had one more question she asked
I
us to
don't
hit before we go.
I don't know
So
what question.
we're going to scroll up just a little bit and see if we could find it
I'm
real
trying to
quick.
oops, this mouse is not working.
Uh,
I think you were cool, Paul. And I don't know.
I'm too scared. Well,
Ask it again, quick.
yeah,
Quick,
ask
quick,
it
quick.
again real quick, so we
It's
could wrap
going.
it. I don't want to keep David too long, but oh yeah, what's
Oh,
David's
David's
channel?
I'm good.
David's channel is Bigfoot and More. His link is in the description. Go ahead and click that there, or you can just put Bigfoot and More. You will find his channel. It's awesome.
I figured out why my microphone trips me out.
Why?
You're on the right channel. I'm on the left channel. So
Oh.
when I have to uncover my ear because you get really
Because it's me.
loud,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why when I do this, I can hear you better.
Oh, hey.
Anyway,
There you go.
so Misty, if you could ask
I
that
done got your
question again
question.
real quick.
Hey.
Just hey. Well, David, in the meantime, while we're waiting for this question real fast, what advice would you give us going out into the woods with no clue what we're doing, what advice would you give us to at least get started?
Not having a clue what you're doing? Well, uh, first of all, pick an area where there's been activity before. Um, just personally, I go in like I'm doing a camping trip, and I just pay attention. That's really about it.
Making sure people know where we're at and
Mm-hmm,
making sure
mm-hmm.
that we're prepared for animals.
I would
Yeah.
always take, things like plaster of Paris and stuff just in case you're lucky and the Bigfoot is kind enough to leave you a track, because if you don't have any of that with you, it's she'll leave
Right.
tracks where you would. But
Gotcha.
but no, I don't really do anything special other than just having equipment for recording and video and stuff just in case. But I just go and set up a campsite in areas where either I have had luck before or somebody has had a recent sighting and has steered me toward that direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
make
thank you
sure you
for
have
that.
permission to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
Make sure you have permission to be there.
yeah,
Exactly.
we know
We
all about having permission. We know never
we
trespass
yeah.
anybody. It's not a good idea. Okay, so Misty Bowers, it's about David. Do you know who Mo Sargi even is?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
he's a
No,
YouTuber. Say that again.
was that about Slender Man?
Yeah, yeah. Mo Sargi is a YouTuber. I believe he's based in
Canada.
Canada. And he's doing a series on Slender Man, and Missy's not sure if it's real,
Real
or
or fake.
fake. So, do you have any
Mm,
opinion on Slender Man?
It's a fun book or fun scary story, but it's not real. I mean, that was invented as a creepy pasta a few years ago, wasn't it?
I don't even
I think
know.
I heard it on Creepypasta before, but
I'm sure it's been there. I
I'm
don't know
Yeah.
where
not.
it started.
I know there's a video game for Slender Man
Oh, was
too.
there?
Yeah,
Oh.
but
Mm.
I don't know the origins of it though. But
From what I understand,
Speaking of
it
which.
started out as kind of a creepy pasta.
Oh, did it?
for me, the one I think I probably have the hardest time falling into is the Siren Head ones.
I
I
don't
don't
even
know
know
if
what
you've
that
ever
is.
heard of Siren
Uh-uh.
Head, but it's supposed to be some giant creature that wanders around with a head that looks like a, a loudspeaker,
Really?
and it plays like the emergency alert siren and
Oh, you're
things like
kidding.
that to draw people. Yeah, it's one that I struggle to even
I can
entertain.
Huh.
say I'm not worried about running into that at all.
Huh.
It's giving you plenty of warning to get out of there. So,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
apparently.
so
some of the stuff like Slender Man and stuff like that, people go, well, what do you think about that? I'll say, I don't think about it at all. Big food is the thing I can give you the more educated opinion on. That other stuff, not so much.
I think about probably the one thing that I haven't heard talked about a lot, but I would love to encounter is finding those staircases in the woods.
Mm.
You hear a lot of stories from like emergency response people that go out and find missing people and stuff out in the mountains, and they have stories about just random staircases that appear in the woods, and they say don't ever go up them or anything like that.
Mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm.
always piqued my curiosity, but I don't really know the whole story behind them.
I don't know either, but I have found a staircase in the woods years ago before I even heard the stories about it. So that does kind of make me curious. I didn't go up it, obviously.
Did you, did you go up it?
No, 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 no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. I just
See,
thought it was weird and kept walking.
I would go up the staircase just because I don't have sense enough not to. My curiosity, my curiosity outweighs my sense of caution in situations like that. When we
I think
were at
I'm with you.
Mark, Kerry Arnold made a joke at my expense a little bit when he was in Oklahoma, and we were at Mark's live wire at his place. We were at the edge of the woods talking, and something was crashing around in the woods out there. And I'm like, well, we're here looking for Bigfoot. So I go off in the woods, and Kerry goes, well, we have something in the woods. Where does David go? He goes out into the woods. Now, that being said, there was also a lady there that lives close, and she also went looking out there into it. And I don't know what it was. It might have been one of the resident, Bigfoot in the area, but we couldn't get close enough to see it.
Mm.
That's what now. In March, when Cornell was down from Massachusetts, he was sleeping in a separate tent, and something came down the side of the mountain, and I was in another tent. Me and my son was, and Cornell started yelling, and it woke us up. And of course, when we got out of the tent, couldn't find anything, but something had come down the mountain, stood up right next to his tent. He could hear it there, and whatever it was, it just disappeared back into the woods. First thing in my mind was, well, maybe it was a black bear. There's several black bear down there, but we had cooked steak, and we had, which breaking all the rules, left all our food out in camp. Whatever it was did not touch a thing. All it did was come down and stand beside Cornell's tent, and he'll tell this story. He told me flat out, he said, I'm not sleeping in the tent. He would not get back in his tent. He went to my pickup, got in the front seat of the pickup, and slept the rest of the night there. I woke up the next morning and I walk over there. He's got his sleeping bag over his head, sitting up in the front seat. And I said, what, are you cold? He said, no, I'm not cold. And the Cornell is Irish. He has that thick Irish accent. And he goes, all I was doing is when you guys went back to the tent and went to sleep, he said, I'm looking at all this glass going, oh my God, what if it comes and looks in at me? And he pulled the sleeping bag over his head. So whatever come up close to his tent during the night really shook him up there. So if it was a bear, I think he would have got into something,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it would have been drawn to it for some reason, some kind of a smell.
So he's planning on coming back in here in the next month or two, and we're going to try to get a repeat of that, hopefully. So is there another question?
Trinity Paracryptid Research. This is text, the one we're talking about that we're coming out to see here in a couple of weeks. Said, I'm with you, David. If I hear something in the brush, I'm going to introduce myself.
One thing I'll say don't do, and this is to your question earlier, advice, and I know you wouldn't anyway, but some people do, don't start shooting into the woods. Because here's the thing, unless you've actually been out in a situation like this, nobody knows exactly how they're going to react until that situation comes about.
Mm-hmm.
That's stressful, so fight or flight thing, but I haven't had negative experience out there that makes me concerned about these creatures.
Justy, does Slim Jims work?
Can I make peace if I have the beefy ones?
Slim Jim.
Okay. Everybody likes Slim Jims, so I'd say that would be quite the peace offering,
I'm going to make a friend.
You might have a friend for life with that one.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So
Nice.
yeah, we are way past our hour. And again, David, thank you for taking the time to be on the show with us. We definitely want to have you back.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Like I said, I'd love to see if we can get Carrie on the show as well as you and maybe a couple other people to talk about the live wire. I think that would be a very good show to kind of share with everybody. And again, anybody who wants to go over and check out David's channel, it is in the description down below. Go over there, show him some love, watch his videos. I guarantee
Buy his book.
You'll be entertained, and buy his book.
I cannot wait to read this.
Because she said so, and she's the boss, so don't go against the boss. So buy the book. Paul's already ahead of the game. He already knows. And yeah, if you guys want to support us, just let us know you enjoy the show. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Share our videos out as well. It definitely helps us grow ourselves. Looks like we do have some different social media avenues for people to reach out. They can get on Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter.
And Twitter. I still have never seen our Twitter account, but she handles all that. So I just focus on editing.
I do a Facebook for my music store for advertising, but I don't have one for personal things. So I'm out of the loop on Facebook. I'm
Most people
technologically
are.
challenged for that.
Well, Facebook is like having 600 friends, but only one of them cares about what you're doing.
It's me.
so you can have 600 friends and you could post something and you'll get one like and it'll be her.
It'll be me.
She'll be liking your post.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. That's a very good. That's very good. 600 friends, but only one of them cares.
That's what it feels like. But yeah, I mean, do we have anybody already for next week, or am I jumping the gun?
I do, and I'm trying to remember who it is off the top of my head because I have mono and my brain is shot.
Yeah, she does have
So,
mono. It's just
but there
That's
is someone
bad.
scheduled. I just don't remember.
well, yeah,
Man,
it's the kissing
yeah,
disease, and she got it from the postman.
I sense trouble. I had that once. I had that in high school, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is round 3 for me.
yeah, she's fighting through it though. She's strong.
You're a real trooper to come do this show tonight with feeling like that. Wow.
I will be crashing right after.
Yeah. We got 3 kids and a dog, and the dog is the most behaved one out of them.
Yes,
Out
this
of
is
them
so
all.
true.
So, yeah. And the dog's
My
only
kids
what,
are all-
3 months? Your kids are all what?
My kids are all grown up now. My daughter's 21. My son's 25. And yep.
Well, I'm jealous. I got to say, I'm jealous. We have them ranging anywhere from 5 years to 17 years old, and the 5-year-old is probably the most responsible.
Yes. This I can confirm. Mm-hmm.
So he's our golden ticket when we get old and have to retire.
Yes.
We're going to rely on the 5-year-old. So
Yes.
there is that.
Yeah.
But,
My only requirement, I told my son, I said, don't ever let me have to go to a nursing home. I said, if I get to that point, park my wheelchair beside a lake and just let it where I can let the brake loose and roll into it.
put a bag of apples on my lap so I could give him his offerings.
Oh, this is going south really quick.
Sometimes I don't think before I speak. That's why that's why we usually keep this at an hour. And,
That's accurate.
We're breaking our rules. So again, we want to thank everybody.
Usually I'll write down what I want to talk about. Otherwise, there ain't no telling,
That's why I have to do my own unsupervised shows once in a while, because sometimes I just need to talk and just no idea what's going to come out until it's already there.
Yep.
So, but again, I want to thank everybody. David, again, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. This was really fun. I had a lot of good time with this. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for hanging out.
Let's do it again. This was fun.
Yes.
I'm down.
Definitely.
She's the brains behind the operation. So
yeah, we'll make it happen.
She'll make it happen. And I'll make sure the camera works.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon.